Xtalks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This food industry-focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to help keep you up to date.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Xtalks Food Podcast. I'm Sydney Perlmutter, Senior Food Industry Journalist and Webinar Moderator at Xtalks.com, and this week I'm joined by Aisha Rashid and Vera Kovacevic. Thanks so much for coming. So today I'm going to start us off with a story about a new piece of legislation that just came out called the School Lunch Integrity Program, or rather Act of 2024. And it's been introduced by two U.S. senators, Senator Mike Rounds and Jon Tester. And their goal is to amend the very long established nutritional guidelines under the National School Lunch Act and the Child Nutrition Act of 1966. So this bill specifically aims to exclude lab-grown meat from the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program, thereby preserving traditional meal options for students. So why was this introduced? Well, at a time when lab-grown meat is nearing mainstream acceptance in U.S. restaurants thus far, this legislative proposal raises significant concerns. Since their initial development of lab-grown meat in 2013, the sector has experienced swift expansion and significant investment. Leading companies like Upside Foods and Good Meat have become prominent figures in the U.S., leading to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, granting approval to lab-grown meat in late 2022. But of course, questions about the safety of lab-grown meat persist due to insufficient research. Now, in a statement, Rounds, one of the senators who proposed this bill, said our students should not be test subjects for cell-cultivated meat experiments, and meat was in quotes. He emphasized the importance of relying on high-quality, local beef to nourish students rather than resorting to synthetic alternatives. He continued, I'm pleased to introduce this bipartisan legislation that benefits South Dakota producers and protects students from the unknown effects of cell-cultivated meat products. Now, the School Lunch Integrity Act has garnered support from major agricultural organizations, as you might expect, including the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, RCALF USA, National Cattlemen's Beef Association, and the South Dakota Pork Producers. And their support highlights a collective stance from the agricultural community against the encroachment of lab-grown proteins into traditional farming territories. So the introduction of the School Lunch Integrity Act sparks a wider discussion on the role of technology in our food systems, more broadly speaking. And as lab-grown meat becomes more commercially viable, its potential advantages like lower environmental impact and no animal harm come into conflict with some safety concerns, cultural acceptance issues, and the potential impact on traditional farming practices. So for example, in Florida, a House representative recently introduced legislation aimed at banning the production, sale, possession, and distribution of cultivated meat. And at the same time, Arizona has proposed several new laws intending to reshape the legal landscape governing cultivated meat. And if this sounds familiar to you, this backlash against lab-grown meat is not unique to the U.S. So Italy, for instance, as we talked about sometime last year, I believe, has preemptively banned the production and sale of lab-grown meat. The country cited concerns over consumer health and the protection of traditional agricultural practices, which are quite important to Italy's food heritage. This international apprehension mirrors the cautious approach taken by Senator Rounds and Tester, suggesting a global hesitance to fully embrace this nascent technology without thorough scrutiny. And as the School Lunch Integrity Act makes its way through the legislative process, it raises some critical questions about innovation, tradition, and the future of food. So some questions like, can lab-grown meat coexist with conventional farming in a way that benefits both the planet and its inhabitants, or will legislative barriers like these confine this technology to the fringes of our food system? This debate over lab-grown meat in school meals encapsulates broader tensions between progress and preservation. It highlights the challenges of navigating a sustainable and healthy path in our increasingly complex food landscape. And as lawmakers, educators, parents, and students engage with these issues, the decisions made today will shape the dietary landscape of tomorrow. And they will not only influence what appears on school lunch trays, but also the broader implications for food scrutiny, sustainability, and cultural identity. So I just wanted to ask you guys, what you make of this. Do you think that it's a little bit harsh or incorrect maybe to say that students would be test subjects if lab-grown meat was included? And then do you also think that this potential act is a little too preemptive, especially because we don't have lab-grown meat on the shelves yet?
I think so. I think this is quite preemptive. And like you said, I don't think we're even having conversations about including lab-grown meat in school lunch programs. So it's really definitely preemptive. And it makes me wonder, in the statement from one of the senators, he didn't fail to mention that how this would benefit South Dakota producers. So I wonder if if the overarching sort of concern is more with school children's health versus the agricultural industry. And from the tone and from some of the wording, and it's a bit inflammatory, I would say, like saying that, kids are going to be test subjects because they're going to be consuming this meat. I think it's, very reactionary. And I just wonder what the main motivation behind this legislation is.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I think it's like they're almost causing panic when there really isn't a need for that, right? If it's been cleared last year by the USDA and then the FDA also didn't flag any concerns, I don't understand why this whole rush to ban it in school lunch programs. And we know that school lunch programs usually are on a budget, right? They try to get extremely healthy food on a budget, and currently lab-grown meat is, I think, like you said, Sydney, it's only offered in some restaurants perhaps, or it's going to be offered in restaurants, right? So, and and even if it does hit the shelves really soon, lab-grown meat, it's probably going to be at a very high price, and it's probably not something that the school lunch program is going to be able to afford, quite frankly, right away, right? So, I think causing panic or concern when there is no actual scientific reason for that is a little bit extreme, in my opinion. And I think, maybe people should be more, educated about the fact that this has cleared 2 federal agencies already. What do we think?
Well, we've seen, with a lot of things in the past couple of years, the climate of U.S. politics and policies and health, science, all of the intersection between all of these elements we've seen can create sort of, a sandstorm and where a lot of information is lost and where a lot of misinformation tends to come out. So I think this is just another example of where sadly the science is being lost, and I hope that's not going to be the case moving forward. It's unfortunate because, it just seems like there seems to be this hue and cry over something that, again, we're not even there yet, even though the FDA and USDA have kind of, looked it over and given the green light. But even manufacturers of lab-grown meat themselves are saying that we're not quite there yet. We're not ready to bring this to consumers yet. So I think, again, all of this fear-mongering is not going to help the situation. And Vera, it was so funny when you mentioned that, school lunch programs, try to have healthy food. I don't know. That's a bit questionable. I think their lunch menus are a bit questionable compared to the lunch programs in other countries, like in Europe. In France, I remember seeing a documentary where they were being served like 3 courses and like water with their meals and not soft drinks. Far cry from, this what you find on the menus of school lunch programs in the U.S. So again, I question the motives behind this legislation that's been put forth.
Yeah, Vera, you made such an excellent point that I hadn't even thought of about price, right? You're totally bang on with that. Like they are on a budget, and lab-grown meat, I don't see the price of it being on par with regular beef anytime soon. And that's yet another reason why this bill or this act is like a little too early, I would think. And, I don't think this National School Lunch Program said even that they would be including lab-grown meat.
Right. Where's that? I didn't hear any discussion about.
There's this pushback against kind of nothing yet. And yeah, I mean, this brings up the broader question of whether lab-grown meat and traditional farming practices, like if they can coexist. And this story just reminded me like how political food and the food system really is. And I'll point out that, and it's probably no surprise that both of these senators are Republicans. And I know that there's a little bit of a pushback in general on the Republican side, and probably all sides to a certain extent with lab-grown meat. But I don't think that they should be questioning whether it's safe, because like you said, Vera, it has gone through the FDA and the USDA, which have been wrong in the past. So I can sort of see where they're coming from. But, if you want to conserve traditional farming practices, then maybe just say that. Like, you don't have to demonize lab-grown meat. And maybe you can include, in the future when this does potentially become a thing in school lunches, maybe you include, you send students home and you ask the parents, like, are you okay with them eating lab-grown meat? Like it can be an option. There doesn't have to be a full ban, because that feels a little bit like you don't have the right to choose. And it feels a little bit like you're causing a panic for no reason. So I completely agree with both of you.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a lot more ways to keep our children safe in schools, and a lot of those issues aren't addressed in the U.S. So, keeping kids safe in school and making sure they're healthy and safe, there are a lot of other pressing issues, and this is not one of them at the moment. So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what politicians and senators choose to spend their time on, I'll never really understand, but we'll see if this gains traction, if it's even passed. But I thought it was an interesting discussion, especially since we had previously talked about Italy also preemptively banning lab-grown meat. And that, we don't live in Italy, we're not as immersed in the culture. We also don't live in the States, but I think we can understand the culture a little bit better. But I also just wonder whether other countries or other maybe national programs will follow suit and maybe also preemptively ban lab-grown meat. But that is a question for the future.
The Italy situation I could understand a bit more, because they were clear on, not wanting to affect their food heritage and how the producers and real meat, the importance of it in their cuisine. So, that was a bit more genuine, I would almost say. It just because they laid out, the reasons that made sense, again, culturally and for their producers and all of that, and how all that ties into their food culture. But here, it's just it just seems like the arguments were not thought out very well, and it's just very reactionary, inflammatory, and fear-mongering.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just say it if you would prefer, to partner with and there's nothing wrong either. There's nothing wrong, with using local beef. I love, local. That's great. But I think that they should be able to work in tandem with one another. I think that was always sort of, I think, the premise for lab-grown beef. I think the main fear among people introducing acts like this is that they're trying to replace real meat. We're never going to have access to beef in the future. But I don't think that's it. I think this concept was introduced because of a rising population, agricultural and environmental concerns. I don't think anyone is trying to take away beef. I'd have a problem with it if that was the case, and I think a lot of us would, right? So yeah, I agree. This was reactionary. It wasn't fair to, call kids lab rats or whatever. Yeah. All right, moving on to a bit of a happier story. So Smartfood popcorn, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, has taken a bold step by introducing chocolate glazed donut popcorn, which blends the classic movie theater snack with a very indulgent bakery favorite. So this is a limited edition offering, but it's a testament to Smartfood's commitment to pushing the boundaries of taste. And it also offers snack lovers a unique experience that combines the light, airy crunch of popcorn with the scrumptious taste of chocolate glazed donuts. So the Smartfood chocolate glazed donut popcorn adds to the brand's collection of limited time offerings, marking actually the second donut flavored popcorn to be introduced following the Krispy Kreme glazed donut popcorn in 2021. More recently, Smartfood introduced a limited edition marshmallow hot cocoa flavored popcorn for the 2023 holiday season. Smartfood's flavor lineup, including the staple white cheddar, caters to various preferences, combining creamy, tangy taste with popcorn's natural sweetness. The brand continually innovates, introducing other limited edition flavors and collaborations like the spicy jalapeno ranch flavor with Doritos that showcase its commitment to creating unique and exciting snacking options. So since its inception in 1985, Smartfood popcorn has been dedicated to providing high-quality, ready-to-eat popcorn that doesn't compromise on flavor. Quickly becoming known for its iconic white cheddar flavor, the brand has grown under the ownership of Frito-Lay, which is a PepsiCo subsidiary, by consistently using premium ingredients to craft its delicious snacks. And over the years, Smartfood has expanded its flavor range to appeal to diverse tastes, maintaining a strong commitment to quality and taste innovation. But in the bustling snack market, Smartfood is not without its competitors. Brands like Skinny Pop, Boom Chicka Pop, and Lesser Evil continue to make their mark in the ready-to-eat popcorn space, which was worth an estimated $3.5 billion in 2022. Some key factors driving the ready-to-eat popcorn market are the expansion in the retail landscape, as well as the growing awareness about the health benefits of popcorn as a relatively healthy snack. Smartfood, though, distinguishes itself through a commitment to quality and innovative flavor combinations. And while competitors offer their versions of flavored popcorn, Smartfood stands out by balancing traditional and bold flavors, appealing to both snack lovers and those seeking a new taste adventure. The brand's use of premium ingredients and trend-setting offerings like the new chocolate glazed donut popcorn certainly underscores its competitive edge. And looking ahead, Smartfood's focus remains on expanding its flavor portfolio and exploring new collaborations, staying true to its mission of delivering delicious and high-quality popcorn. By satisfying and setting trends with each new flavor, Smartfood continues to lead in the snacking industry, bringing joy and innovation to the popcorn enthusiasts worldwide. And Smartfood's journey from its iconic white cheddar to the new limited edition chocolate glazed donut flavor highlights the brand's dedication to innovation and quality. With an eye on both its heritage and consumer trends, Smartfood stands out in a crowded market, offering a premium snacking experience that resonates with a broad audience. And as it moves forward, Smartfood is poised to continue delighting snack lovers with its creative flavors, reinforcing leadership in the snack food industry. So I thought, this new flavor sounds delicious, and I think Smartfood has really become sort of a leader, not just in the popcorn space, but with these limited edition flavors, and it really, gets the buzz going. And writing this story, I also thought about how it's a relatively new, I think, in my opinion, trend, the ready-to-eat popcorn trend, because I remember as a kid, popcorn, you'd buy the bags of popcorn and you'd pop them either in the microwave or on the stove. But now I think the ready-to-eat popcorn market has sort of maybe taken over. I don't know about you guys, whether you prefer ready to eat or whether you prefer to pop it at home. But Smartfood has certainly become a leader in the ready to eat space.
Man, I was thinking the same thing, that like ready to eat popcorn has, no pun intended, literally exploded kind of. Mm-hmm. and I love it. I absolutely love it. Like maybe I'm just lazy and not really into food prep and cooking in general, but I do remember as a kid too having those microwavable popcorns that you would pop or just buy the kernels and have like the popcorn machines. Are those going to become obsolete? Those were actually kind of fun. You could like have like a little tray with butter on it. Maybe I'm like, it was just so old school. But I love this trend of ready to eat popcorn. It's just so much more convenient. Tastes great, and there are a lot of great companies, of course, Smartfood leading in this space, but there are so many other companies as well. So, and I think they're really on the ball with their flavors and with just keeping up with demand and innovating. So I was just like, I think I was just like smiling too much throughout this because I was like looking at all of those flavors. I'm like, I want to try this like right now, like the Krispy Kreme and like, like sweet and salty, like they go well together. So I definitely want to try this.
Yeah, I was looking at your article, Sydney, and it had like, all the different packaging. So they completely changed the packaging, like one with the chocolate glazed donut, like the background is fully pink, and I couldn't even recognize it. And I see this popcorn bag like at least every week when I go to, the store. So I was so surprised, like I didn't even click 2 and 2 that this is the same company. But I found it like pretty interesting, those new flavors for sure. I think I'm gonna need a little bit more convincing from the brand about why they named themselves like Smartfood. Like I just want to know, like, why is it a better choice than other snacks? Or like, I feel like the company, they should just be a little bit more, like, oh, is it less calories? Is it less salt? Is it less butter and oil? Like what exactly is making them Smartfood, apart from them just saying like, oh, we use innovative ingredients, right? So I wasn't really bought on that part, because for me personally, like I buy the actual, like the seeds, the kernels, and I pop them myself over the stove, and I can control the amount of butter, I can control the amount of salt, and it's fine, right? But with these ready-to-eat popcorns, I mean, I want to kind of know, especially if they're called Smartfood, like why? And I just feel like I didn't get that from their branding.
I think personally they are not saying that they're healthier than other popcorn brands. I think what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the fact that popcorn in the snacking space is a relatively healthier option as opposed to like chips or other like confectionery goods that I love. And so I think like they're not... Yeah, that's just my take. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But I think that, they're just capitalizing more on popcorn in general being a bit of like a healthier alternative, and also the fact that you can eat a lot of it. And since it's so airy, that you can eat more than maybe you would chips or something. Now, I'm definitely not talking about movie theater popcorn that's obviously drenched in butter, the most delicious, of course. But they actually have, I was looking through all of their like mainstay flavors, and they have like a movie theater butter popcorn flavor as well. That's like, I think a very popular flavor. Of course, I know Smartfood from the white cheddar. They also do a Chicago mix as well, which is that like kettle corn, like that caramel one, plus their white cheddar as well, which I love as well. But that's a good question, Vera. And I think like the other brands that I had mentioned in the ready to eat popcorn space, I think they, like Skinny Pop, for example, in the name, they're calling themselves Skinny Pop. A little bit problematic in the diet culture realm, but I think they're going for we are a healthy popcorn option. I think they're like non-GMO and gluten-free, so I think they are, they're advertising that more. But I'd have to look into that. I'd have to honestly compare Smartfood with the other brands that I mentioned. But I think since they've also been around the longest, they have definitely like established themselves as a favorite. I've personally never tried any of the other brands that I've mentioned. So I don't know about you guys, if you've tried the others.
Yeah, I have tried a few others. The names kind of escape me right now, which is bad. But yeah, the thing with popcorn in general, like you said, Sydney, I think it's overall healthier than other snack foods. And I think so Smartfood, I think, just capitalized on that, and then has like the picture of the corn cob, corn on the cob. So it's kind of like it's pretty close to nature or the original product. Like you just take dried corn kernels and they're saying they pop them up and they can add these great flavors if you want. So yeah, I think that's the take in terms of just popcorn in general being a smart food. And yeah, that's what I kind of like about ready to eat popcorn. It's that if you look at the ingredient lists and they're generally more benign and healthier than other snack foods like chips and cookies that have so many more ingredients and artificial flavors. Not to say that some of these don't as well, but I think comparatively, yeah, I'm much happier reaching for a ready-to-eat popcorn over like another snack food.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think we have to take it with a grain of salt that any food that is produced or processed in any way is just automatically not going to be as healthy as controlling the ingredients that go into it. I think we just know that. But I was also wondering what you guys think about the whole limited edition offerings. If, for example, they explode and sell out, and do you think it's even better to keep it a limited edition to create that buzz, or do you think that it's sort of a tease on behalf of these brands?
Hard to say. I mean, I guess it really comes down to business, right? And their revenue from it. They have some kind of cutoff, I'm sure, where if it exceeds that cutoff, they're going to make the item more, not limited edition anymore. They're going to make the item like one of the permanent offerings, I think. Right? Because maybe not everyone's going to try it and buy it. Like you said, Sydney, before in an episode, you said that it's usually the originals that do the best. And then these limited edition spin-offs, maybe just to like keep the consumer base engaged. But yeah, maybe if the revenue from one of them, for example, this chocolate glazed donut flavor, which I was like, that looks the most appealing to me. Maybe if that one takes off, maybe they're going to extend it at least.
Yeah, in my experience or from my observations, I don't like they're limited edition for a reason. I think it could be two things. Either they're testing the water with these different flavors and maybe they are looking to include them long term, or it could just be a way to bring more attention to the brand. So you get these customers looking at this, unique limited edition popcorn, makes them want to try it. And even if those flavors don't last per se, you've still brought in maybe potentially new customers to the brand. So I think it could be, that, or maybe they are just testing the waters with their new flavors. But those don't really tend to stick though.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think what they do more so is create like a lore or a very exclusive like fan base that are always like, bring back this flavor. Like kind of like it reminds me of the McRib from McDonald's, which I think is actually back right now, which is like, I think it's, it's a limited time offering, probably once a year, I think. And there is like an absolute cult surrounding the McRib. And I think that's because it's a limited edition offering, and people like get excited for it to come back. So I think there's definitely, you're right, it's Vera, it's like it's a business thing, it's marketing tool that certainly works very well. But you're also right. Like the mainstay flavors are the ones that often perform the best, and at least more consistently, of course. But this looks delicious. I personally love a sweet popcorn. Kettle corn is absolutely delicious. And I would love to try this if we even have it in Canada, which who's to say if we will, but.
Boom Chicka Pop, that's the one that I've tried. So that's really good too. And that's actually kind of like a healthier popcorn. They state that they use, good ingredients, and it's kind of like good for you, sea salt, and stuff like that. So so I think that's a good one as well.
All right. Well, that's the end of this episode of the Xtalks Food Podcast. If you like today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Xtalks Food Industry Podcast. If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find Xtalks on social media, email podcast@xtalks.com, or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.